calm, focus, happiness.
Welcome to Mindfulness Mode. And today we're going to be talking about the Camino Santiago. And we're going to be talking to a woman who went on this journey. This pilgrimage was something that replaced the long planned journeys that she and her late husband were going to make together in their retirement. But that didn't happen. So she went on this journey on the Camino. So we'll be talking all about this. I'm here today with my guest, Kathleen Donnelly Israel. Kathleen, are you in mindfulness mode today?
Absolutely. Mindfulness mode. Yes.
That's great. What does mindfulness mean to you, Kathleen?
Just being awake and aware of, where you're at, breathing, every once in a while I get maybe anxious or something, and then I'm like, okay, you're not breathing. And
right.
So the mindfulness brings me back, and then I don't have my anxiety anymore.
Well, you decided to start your journey in France. So tell me about that, about heading to France. What were you feeling at the time? What were you thinking?
So I wanted to walk the Camino, and I didn't want to have jet lag. So I flew into Paris and spent a week in Paris being a tourist. And I was just really totally open to any experiences that I might have. I didn't know what was going to happen, and I was up for it.
And did you practice? Did you do a lot of walking before you went there to get used to the walking part of it? Or maybe you were already a walker?
Yeah, I love to walk. And I had been walking with my friend Severa on Mission Bay. I live in San Diego. I was walking on Mission Bay for we would walk 5 miles 3 days a week, or 2 or 3 days a week. And I just thought, well, gee, walking that 5 miles didn't even make me sweat. Of course, it was flat, right? It was right by the bay. And I thought, well, I can walk 5 miles before lunch and 5 miles after lunch, and I can do this. So then my sister-in-law said, Kathleen, you're going to have to walk up mountains. And so she found all the mountains in San Diego, and we walked up them. And after a while, I was taking my backpack with me, walking up the mountains. And so, yeah, there was a bit of preparation. But I was a walker.
So when you got there and you started walking, what was the biggest surprise?
One thing that was surprising to me was that I was really walking alone. I had heard there's people on the Camino, and the only people that I saw were passing me by, because I'm an old lady and I walk slow. I got a foot problem too, so that makes me walk even slower. So I just saw people passing me by all the time, and that was a little bit depressing.
Yeah.
And but after I got out on the Mesita, where you can see a far behind you and far ahead of you, then I realized that there were people there. I was just on windy roads on the mountains, and so I didn't see people. But when I got on the flat plain, I saw people in front of me and behind me. And it made me feel good that everybody wasn't passing me up, because there were some people behind me and they were still behind me at the end of the day, so that made me feel better.
Sure. And did you end up meeting some people there?
Yes. Just different people. The first night I met some people, but it was basically didn't have much time to spend with people. But the second night, when I got in there, you're supposed to walk over the Pyrenees when you start from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. But there was snow on the Pyrenees, so they made us walk around. So all the people that started when I started had to walk around the Pyrenees. And so the first night we got into Valcarlos, and I met those people, And we started a WhatsApp. And so we followed each other the whole time. It was like we had a family on our computer, on our phone, on a WhatsApp. And like I met this guy, and I came into the albergue. That's where you stay in albergues. There's a big room with a bunch of bunk beds and maybe a kitchen and some bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And so this guy, when I walked in the door, he said, "Oh, I just met this guy, my new friend, and he's so sad, and that he can't do his life anymore." And so I went over and sat down by him, and I said, "Oh, what happened? What's the matter?" And he said that 3 of his friends, very good friends, had died independent of each other, one at a time. And he was so sad, he felt like he couldn't do his life anymore. And so I said, "Well, I know what you mean. My husband died in August and my mother died in December. And so we have something in common." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm so sorry for your loss." He was like, sorry for my loss, kind of bringing each other out of ourselves and sharing our pain. It was lovely. And it happened that he lived in LA, which is like 100 miles from my house.
Right.
And so that was my first meeting with people that I really got to know.
Oh, that's really interesting. What month was this that you were walking in?
I started in April 5th. I started April 5th. And so there was snow, like I say, on the Pyrenees, and they didn't want to have to rescue anybody.
Right.
I think that movie, The Way, that's what happened to that guy who died in The Way, is that it was snowing and he fell. And so
I haven't seen that movie. So the movie is all about the Camino, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw that a really long time ago. I saw it when it first came out, and I forgot all about the Camino. And then, when I was caring for Ron, my girlfriend went on the Camino and she shared it on Facebook, and I saw that and I thought, you know what? When Ron's done with his disease, I'm going to walk the Camino too. So that was my plan, I guess.
Right. You had that plan for a while. Tell us about Ron and how long he was sick and what was the matter with him and everything.
Yeah, Ron had Parkinson's disease, and he got it. I mean, he had it for years before we knew what it was. But when he was 51, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
Oh,
and
wow.
They thought it was arthritis. They thought it was all kinds of stuff before that. And then he went to a physical therapist, and the physical therapist is like, "You know what? Your muscles aren't doing the right thing here. We're sending you to a neurologist." And then that's how he was diagnosed with the Parkinson's disease.
And how old was he when he passed?
He was 71.
So for 20 years, he had it knowing he had it, and then he had even had it before that.
Yeah, he had it. Yeah, that's
wow,
right.
That's a long time. And you looked after him for much of that time, I take it.
Yeah, he was totally disabled from 2010 to 2018. So that, so I got into it. Before that, he could drive and he could do stuff. But in 2010, he started being in so much pain. He was just, you look at the guy. I mean, he wasn't a complainer, but you look at the guy and you can say he's in pain, just the eyes get kind of low and anyway, so this doctor was a retired doctor. He came out to the house to look at negative ion clothes, because I sell negative ion clothes. And when he saw Ron, he said, "Okay, well, I know why I'm here." And he thought he could cure Ron. So yeah, he thought he could. But then so he took Ron. He told me he wanted to cure Ron, and I'm like, "Okay, well, Ron doesn't want to do anything I tell him to do, so you go talk to Ron if you want to cure Ron." So he talked him into it, and he took all his meds away, and he and then the next day Ron woke up and he was in so much pain. He said, I need my meds. You don't understand. I just need my meds. And so I called the doctor, and the doctor was actually walking up to the house. He came every day.
Wow.
And he came in and he gave Ron a coffee enema, and Ron wasn't in pain anymore after that coffee enema. And so he had me, we gave him 3 coffee enemas a day, and we were juicing all this stuff like apples, green apples and celery and carrots. And we were, and he was eating charcoal. He was trying to get the meds out of him. And, but after 6 months, he didn't get better. And so the doctor gave up. He actually said, I'm going on vacation. And then he never came back.
Oh.
And so anyway, Ron was fine with being not in pain. He was paralyzed that whole time.
Okay.
He just couldn't move, couldn't walk. And so our kids are like, well, you can't leave him like that. And Ron was fine, just not being in pain. It's like,
sure.
I'll sit here and watch cowboy movies and NCIS, and he was good. And so we found out about this deep brain stimulator. And so they did the first side, and it was good, and he could move after that. Then they did the second side, and it was a failed surgery. And so he couldn't walk and he couldn't talk after that. And so that was the rest of his life. He couldn't walk and he couldn't talk. And so I got to take care of him. So,
well, tell us more about this negative ion clothes. I haven't heard of this before.
Yeah. Well, when Ron got sick, anyway, I sell Mary Kay cosmetics, and there was a lady, and she was looking for somebody that likes to sell stuff. And so she went on the Mary Kay website and found me, and then instead of buying Mary Kay from me, she wanted me to sell this negative ion clothes. And I was really angry with her for doing that, because I don't like to sell stuff. Right. I just want to have fun. That's why I joined Mary Kay, to have fun.
Okay.
Anyway, I said, well, will it help my husband who has Parkinson's? And she said, yes. And so I was like, okay. So we didn't have money, but I bought the whole thing on my credit card, and I brought it home, and he refused to wear it. And because he didn't want me to be his healer. He wanted me to be his caregiver. Oh. And so I know it's weird. I asked him why, and he said, because you always have to be right. And I was just like, okay, I think the problem is you have to always be right. But anyway, whatever. And so I honored my commitment to, care for him, till death do us part. Somebody's going to be caring for somebody, right?
Right.
And I was just glad that I was the well one. Yeah. I could have been the one being cared for, but sure, I was the well one. So that was better, I thought. If you're going to do till death do us part, I prefer to be the caregiver than the one that's ill.
And so did you ever have positive experiences then with the negative ion clothes? Like, did they help you, or did they help anyone you knew?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I didn't even know what was going to happen, but I bought them for me too, because I just thought, well, I don't feel very good. My fingers were swollen and my knees were swollen, and I just didn't feel like I had really good health. So I started wearing them, and I got them on a Tuesday, right? Mm-hmm. And by Sunday, I hadn't been able to kneel in church for 3 years. Wow. And I teach breathing too. So I'm supposed to get on the floor with my clients and kneel on the floor next to them. And I had been scooting around on my butt for like 3 years because I couldn't kneel. So anyway, on Sunday, I went to church, and I went to do my little bunny dip instead of genuflecting to go in the pew. And I kneeled all the way down to the floor, and I was like, oh, what is that? And then I got into the pew and I was able to kneel, but I still had pain. But 3 weeks later, no more pain, and I don't have arthritis in my knees anymore. So
that's amazing.
I know it's
Wow.
really pricey. I mean, it was crazy to buy it. It really is expensive. But you know what? I was very fortunate that I wanted it for Ron, so I bought it.
Oh, I see. So how do the clothes get the ions into them? Do you have to plug them in or something?
No, they're made out of this. Okay, so this company in Japan makes specialty fabrics. I mean, they make bulletproof vests. They make stuff that's, expensive.
Yes.
And anyway, back in the 30s, actually, they were thinking, wow, negative ions are so good for people. They could really, if we could make a fabric that emits negative ions, we could really help the world. So they were inventing. And then in the 40s, when the war broke out, they had to stop their inventing. And then after they dropped the bombs in Japan, everybody was like either dead or sick from the radioactive fallout.
Yeah.
So they thought, well, we really need it now. So they kept inventing. And finally, like in 1950 or 49 or 50, they figured it out, and they took PVC and they fermented it for 9 months, and they added chlorine to it, which has a propensity for an extra negative ion. So voila, they had a stable substance that emits negative ions all the time. And they made threads out of it, and they made fabric out of it, and they gave it to all their friends and relatives, and they put it on, and they got rid of their radioactive fallout from wearing it. Because you have to have it right on your skin. So it's like underwear, right?
Okay.
And I mean, they have some outer clothing too, which is even more crazy expensive. But anyway, the underwear, I wear the underwear. So you wear it right on your skin, and the negative ions attract the positive toxins from inside our body out onto the cloth. And you have to wash them. Like every time you wear them, you have to wash them. And because the fibers get coated with the positive ions, the toxins, and then so you have to wash them to clear the fibers.
Okay, I see.
And you can't put them in the dryer because that emits positive ions, so you have to hang them out. But I mean, that's what I do, and I've been like, I think I found out about them in 2005, and or somewhere around there. I don't even remember. But I've been wearing them all these years. I don't have arthritis anymore. So
that's amazing. That, huh? And have you sold them to people that have really received positive results?
I have, but you know what? If somebody is ill and you come at them and say, hey, you need to pay $5,000 to get this stuff, they hate you.
Okay.
They don't trust you. And so, I mean, I tell people about it, but I'm not a doctor. They don't trust me. So, I mean, whatever. I just have to give them to God. Right. And it's the thing is, all these people are getting themselves cut off at the knees, having new knees, metal knees, and they're kind of walking funny. And I'm thinking I'm better off, even though it's really expensive. So.
Well, yeah. Well, it's not cheap to have a knee surgery either, is it?
Yeah, but if people have insurance, it's not. It's a no-brainer.
Right.
So it's cheaper to have them cut you off at the knees, and. But anyway, I'm fortunate, and I'm just glad, and I'll tell people about it, but I'm not going to be, getting the fallout from people that are angry with me for doing that to them,
Right. Sure.
Like I say, I don't really like to sell stuff, but
Mhm.
I'll help people get it. I mean, if you sign up, it's cheaper. You get 20% off if you sign up. So I signed up so I can help people get it.
Oh, I see. I see. Well,
So.
back to the Camino, then you went ahead and you wrote a book called Wisdom on the Camino. What was that like? Was that your first book that you ever wrote?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
What was it like to write that book?
It was such a joy because I had this wonderful experience and just remembering everything that happened. I mean, I had to corroborate, I had my pilgrim passport that I had every day I stayed. They stamp it every day you stay somewhere. So I knew where I'd been.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had my Facebook entries that I had told my friends what happened. And then my children, they made me a WhatsApp called Mom's Walkabout Check-in. And so I told them the gory details, actually. And so I put all that in the book, and it was just so fun to remember all that stuff and write it. And also, while Ron was sick, I've had kind of a rough childhood. So I had post-traumatic stress disorder, and so during the time when Ron was ill, I studied online a bunch of enlightened thought leaders and
Mm-hmm.
did a lot of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And after all that time, I felt like I knew some stuff that I could share with people. And I wanted to write the book about that, actually. And then when I went to sit down and write about it, I thought, oh man, I don't feel good about being teachy. And so I
Right.
remembered that I told people about all those things on the Camino. So I wrote the book about walking the Camino and telling people those things.
That's cool. What year did you publish the book?
2020.
Okay.
I walked in 2019, and then I wrote the book. It only took me 3 months to write the book.
Not bad.
I joined the self-publishing school, and they helped me figure out how to do that. And you have to get an editor, and so the editor read my book, and then I got a cover designer, and then I uploaded it to Amazon, and that's all you do. It's not difficult, but you just got to know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you ever write another book?
Yeah, I'm writing the second book because I in 2021 I walked in Portugal. So I started at Lisbon and I walked up to Santiago. And so my second book is Wisdom on the Camino Santiago, the Wisdom on the Camino Portuguese. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And then I still need to walk the northern route. And so I'll write a book about that too.
So when are you going to do that?
I figure I'll have my 75th birthday on the Camino del Norte. That's what they call it. And so I'll start in April in next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's very adventurous of you to take on those challenges, I would think. Does it make you a little bit worried at all, or you just go for it and you're not worried? How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm just hoping, God lets me do that, because so far my health is good, and like every morning I walk to Mass, which is a mile to Mass and a mile back, and I walk up a giant hill.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to keep myself, so I can do stuff. And anyway, God's in charge. That's all I got to say. And I'm gonna do it if I can, and I expect that I can.
And what else lights you up, Kathleen, in your life besides walking and writing?
Oh, well, gee, I just got back from Medjugorje. Have you heard of Medjugorje?
No.
Yeah. Mary, the Mother of God, visited these children in the 1980s. And so it's anyway, if you go there, it's a very holy place. It just touched my heart so much, having been able to go there.
So it sounds like you're doing a fair amount of traveling then.
I know people tell me I'm a world traveler, and I'm like, well, I guess so. I've been to Bosnia, for God's sakes. I guess I am.
Yeah. That's
And
pretty
Bosnia
impressive.
Herzegovina. But I don't know. I just I think God is just leading me around, and it was such a blessing to have gone there. I just got back on the 21st of May from there, and I'm just still riding high on the beautiful experience.
Well, that's really interesting. Really, really interesting. So I know that well, it sounds like you have a website called wisdomonthecamino.com. Isn't that right?
Right,
And
right.
that's where you can find out about your book and everything, isn't it?
Yeah. And just to let you know, my friends told me that I should put my pictures in the book. And I thought, well, gee, then the book will be $50 if I do that, because I wasn't going to put black and white pictures in there.
Sure.
So what I did was I created the website, and so on the page across from the table of contents in my book, it says read this first. And so you can opt in. You have to double opt in to to my website to see the pictures, and I arranged them according to chapters, so you can like look at the chapter, look at the pictures for chapter 1 and read chapter 1, and then go to chapter 2. And I know the pictures are really great, and they helped me write the book. So
Oh, that's
that,
wonderful. And were
yeah.
you always really good at technology? Was this something very comfortable for you?
Well, I have to say that it took me 3 months to write the book, but it took me 6 months to get that blankety blank website up, because
Okay.
oh my gosh, I mean, because I got this old mind, but I was a graphic designer in my life,
Well, I was
and
going to
my
ask you.
degree
You're a graphic
is
designer.
my degree is in graphic design. And so like I graduated in 1989 from San Diego State University, and the first real good graphics program was Illustrator 88, and I graduated in 89. So you can tell I was right there at the beginning.
Right.
And so with my degree, I couldn't even get a job because everything had to be computer after 1989,
Right.
and so I went to Platt College and got a diploma in computer graphic design, and then I was able to do it.
Okay.
So I do know, but the thing is, I mean, I used to use Photoshop and all these programs, but now they're so different.
Yes.
They're just completely different. So you kind of got to go to school your whole life if you want to work on computers.
Keeps
or else,
changing.
yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to create my own book cover. I mean, I'm a graphic designer, right? And I was not able to do that because 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 I couldn't even work Photoshop.
Sure. Sure. Well, there's nothing wrong with getting somebody else to do stuff for you. As we move
Yeah.
on in the interview, I want to ask you about the topic of bullying, because that's something that I've worked in for a long time. I was a teacher, and then I worked in the field of bullying prevention. And I wondered, do you have any kind of story about bullying in your life where mindfulness would have made a difference?
Oh gosh. Well, being an old lady, I don't think I get bullied too much. I mean, I have a lot of failed bullying experience
Do you?
that I wasn't into mindfulness at the time. But
What do you mean by
okay,
that?
so I can think about my son, and he was the bottom of the pecking order in his class.
Okay.
It was really sad.
Yeah.
And people just used to do stuff to him all the time just to make his life miserable. And so I remember one time that there was a bunch of altar boys, and this one guy was the ringleader, right? And he got this great idea. Let's tell Peter that we need him to be our to just be an altar boy for us because we can't go. And then we'll just pretend like he's full of poo-poo, and we didn't ever say that to him. So they called Peter and asked him to be an altar boy in the morning, and it was kind of an honor to do that. And so Peter asked me, and I said, well, he was going to go spend the night at a friend's house that night. I said, well, you can't spend the night at your friend's house, you know, if you're going to be an altar boy in the morning. So he said, okay, that he would do it for them. He wasn't going to go spend the night. And then in the morning, when he got over there, they acted like, you're crazy. We didn't do that. And so he came home. He was really sad. He could have spent the night at his friend's house, but he didn't. And so when things like that happened to him, I told him, you know what? Just imagine being a person who would do that.
Yeah.
We need to pray for them.
Yes.
And so we used to pray for his friends who did those things to him. And it wasn't just once. It was like every week they did stuff like that to him.
Wow, that's awful.
And so we prayed for them. And then I must say that when he was a teenager, his friends, also I called that guy, his name was Mike, and I called him, and his mother answered, and I said, can I talk to Mike? And she just thought that was kind of strange that Peter's mother would like to talk to Mike. But anyway, so I talked to him, and I told him, you know, you made Peter not go to his friend's house, and I never want you, I'm not going to tell on you. Never do that again. It's awful, and never do that again. And so Mike started being nice to Peter. And and it was really sad because this other new kid came in and they started treating him like poo-poo instead of Peter, and everybody started being nice to Peter, which I wasn't okay with them being mean to that other kid. But it's just what they did, you know, I don't know. But anyway, when Peter was a teenager, he didn't drive till he was 19. And his friends wouldn't go anywhere without him. They would come and pick him up and take him places. Like, it was like we couldn't have fun unless Peter was there.
Wow.
And it just, you know, it just changed. I think it was the prayer.
Kind of turned full circle, didn't it?
Yeah. And everybody loves Peter. And oh my gosh. So now Peter has kids, and he's telling his kids to pray for people too. So that makes me feel really good. The thing is, when people are bullies, when people are doing the wrong thing, people are shooting people, you know, whatever people are doing that is the wrong thing, they are acting out their pain.
Yes.
And we hate them, and we don't understand. But you know what? They're acting out their pain. And so all I know what to do about it is prayer. That's all I know. Because if we sit here on our you know, we would
our
never
high
do
horse
that.
or whatever. Yeah.
We would never do that, right?
Yeah.
And they're still in pain.
Yes.
So it's evidence that pain is going on over there.
It sure is.
And so that's what I think, that's what we need to do.
Yeah, there's definitely massive amounts of pain in the world. That's for sure.
All those people.
Yeah.
They don't understand, and they're in pain. And and if we feel we're the target, we get to help them out.
Yeah.
And it's a gift. You know, the thing about unconditional love is you can't even do it unless you have adversity, because it's easy to love the people that are nice to us.
It is.
The people who are mean to us, that's where you can get unconditional love. And that is the highest vibration in the world, is unconditional love. And so anyway, it's awful. Bullying is awful, but you know what? It is fodder for unconditional love, you know?
Yeah, you have a lot of wisdom, Kathleen. Thanks for sharing all that. That was a really powerful story that you shared. Wow. I want to, as we move forward, to ask you 5 quick answer questions, Kathleen. So just 30-second answers are perfect. The first one is this: who is one person who has been a powerful mindfulness influence in your life?
Um, oh gosh, I'm thinking of, I don't know. I think some of those songwriters from the 60s and 70s, like John Lennon, I mean, brilliant. He was talking about mindfulness.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Good answer. Yeah. Well, let's talk about your emotions, Kathleen, and how do you deal with your emotions differently as a result of mindfulness?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like I was saying, when I get anxiety, and I'll just be all of a sudden, I mean, I'm laying in bed last night. I was laying in bed. All of a sudden, I was afraid. And I'm like, okay, Kathleen, you're not breathing. You're not breathing. And I started breathing, and I wasn't afraid anymore. Because the thing is that what happens with the not enough breathing is that our brain needs oxygen. And if our brain doesn't get the oxygen, our brain is like, you know, and so then all of a sudden we're afraid of everything, but actually our brain just needs some oxygen. And so then I just breathe in my belly, breathe big, like breathe in to 8 and breathe out to 8, like that. And all of a sudden my brain's got enough oxygen and it stops being like that.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I mean, anxiety disorder is not enough air. That's what it is.
It really is. Yeah. Well, you've answered my next question already, which was about breathing. So that was great.
I teach transformational breathing.
Right.
And when I was a child, I used to get bronchitis or pneumonia twice a year, every year. On Christmas and my birthday, I was sick.
Oh, wow.
And it was because I wasn't breathing enough, because I lived in a toxic environment. It was awful, my environment where I grew up.
Yeah.
And so anyway, when when I was in my, I don't know, I think I was in my 20s or 30s, and my doctor took pity on me and sent me to a breathing clinic because I had gotten pneumonia again. And after they did breathing associated with biofeedback, you hook yourself up to these things, and you can watch yourself, calm yourself down. It was great. So after I learned that, I was never sick again.
Wow.
And yeah, really. And then I was in a networking group because I was a graphic designer, and this person, I heard them talking about breathing, and I'm like, me. And so I went over and I went to this transformational breathing event, and then I decided that I wanted to learn to do that. So I went home, and Ron didn't do what I wanted him to do ever.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, he was
a rebel.
He was. And so I went to him and I kind of bullied him because I said I wanted to do this breathing, and I knew I was going to grow from it, and I didn't want to grow past him. So would he do it with me? And so he said yes. So we learned together the transformational breathing. So he was a facilitator, and so was I.
Isn't that interesting? And do you teach it to people online, or do you only teach it to people locally?
I can teach it online.
You can?
I can, but I usually teach it in person.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can have a Zoom room and you can teach people
Sure.
to do it, but it's better to do it. And really, during COVID, I wasn't afraid of getting COVID because I take this stuff and it makes me not get it. But
Okay.
anyway, so I actually did breathing outside in the backyard under my orange trees for people during COVID.
Oh, you did? Wow, I
did.
bet that really helped them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Well, your book, Wisdom on the Camino, I'm really excited because I'm looking forward to reading it. I have not read it yet, but I'm looking forward. And I love the subtitle, A Spiritual Journey Sharing Forgiveness and Possibilities to Inspire the Rest of Your Life. What a beautiful subtitle that is. So are there any other books you would recommend to our listeners?
Oh, books that aren't mine? Oh gosh, what do I have around here? I've got thesauruses and dictionaries from writing my book. Let me see.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a really good book by Anne Lindbergh. What is it? Something by the sea or the seashells or something like that.
Anne Lindbergh. Let me just check that book out. Anne Lindbergh. I will just check that out.
I've got all my books in the other room.
Oh, that's okay. Let me just check this out. And
if you want to go on the Camino, there's all kinds of guidebooks. That's how I knew I could do it, because you get a guidebook, and it just, gosh, they have like every town, and then they write the amenities in the town, so you can tell, like, you can get coffee here, or there's an ATM in this town, or there's a pharmacy in this town. And so it really is so helpful, the books.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well,
the Anne Lindbergh book is Gift from the Sea. Is that the one you're thinking of?
Yeah, that's it. Gift from the Sea. I thought that was a lovely book.
Okay. Yeah. Gift from the Sea, Mindful Tribe. Check that book out. And so, yeah, it's been really, really fun to talk to you, Kathleen. And I just think you do have so much wisdom that you shared with us and that you share with the world. So do you have any final words of advice or words of wisdom as we wrap up the interview?
Yeah, I have this prayer that I say whenever I don't know what to do, like I can't do it, I can't figure this out. And my prayer that I say is, actually told it to a lady in Burgos when she was showing me how to get to the Camino, because I got lost. And it is, "Dear God, please make everything turn out okay." And then you just let God make everything turn out okay. So miracles happen when you say that. And so yeah. And then you can follow it up with, "Thank you, God, for making everything turn out okay." So that's like, possibility thinking.
For sure. Well,
yeah.
Please make everything turn out okay.
Dear God, please make everything turn out okay. And then miracles happen. It's amazing.
That's amazing. Thank you. Well, I feel like it's been a miracle for me to meet you and to have you on Mindfulness Mode. So thank you so much. It's been great, Kathleen.
I've enjoyed this too. Thank you too.
Okay. All the best to you. Bye now.
Bye-bye.